We started using the body cameras in September of 2017. In particular, we use the Axon Body 2 product. That's the device that we're wearing.
So the training, it's really about just getting them to connect to like our smartphones, putting case numbers on things, classifying the right way so that we have the proper retention on videos that we have classified. And when you look at the transparency of it is really the best part of it. And I can very easily go into our system and review a video and see whether or not what they said was accurate or not, or if the officer did act inappropriately. And it's something where it's so much easier to do that now because you have these, and it's a first-person view of what happened. So it makes things a lot easier, whether it's the officer doing some type of misconduct or if you're trying to see if what happened really happened. Because at the end of the day, I want to know what really happened, and this is the best tool that we can use to do that. And as far as the training aspect is getting them to, understand like the retention periods and making sure that they're turning it on the calls that they're supposed to be turning it on, so that if you do get a complaint and you go in to look at it that they never turned it on, well, that's going to be an issue, and we want to avoid that at all costs. So I think a lot of it is that, just making sure they understand how to use it, they understand the importance of when to turn it on when they're supposed to, and then the classifying it the right way so that the appropriate retention periods are met. We're not going to shut the cameras off if somebody requests us to do it, because we don't know what's going to happen after that camera's off. We want transparency, and even though the person that we're maybe dealing with doesn't want that same transparency, we do. And it's not like this is public data where somebody can just come to the police department and get it if they were not involved in some situation. It's not going to be like that. So there is privacy with these if somebody is concerned about that, but we're not going to shut these cameras off just because somebody wants them off. So they're going to be recording, and if you see a body camera, you expect it to be recording.
We want to not only be able to collect evidence, because that's really the primary use of the body camera, is simply to collect good evidence about what the officer sees or what is going on around the officer. Now the camera does not see what the officer sees. Okay? It never will. Okay? We can't duplicate the human eye and the human brain in how we perceive the environment, and so the best thing that we have is a wide angle, high definition camera, and so we're trying to use that to collect as much environmental information as we possibly can. And officers need to be aware of that. They need to understand what is going to be caught by the camera, what is not. They need to be aware of and have strategies for how to best use the camera so that they can collect as much information or as much critical information as possible. There may be things that the camera will not catch, and so what officers do is they will position themselves or move the camera or lean one way or another or turn one way or another in order to try and make sure that they're capturing those specific things on the camera, realizing that they may be looking at it, but that doesn't mean that the camera is going to see it. So knowing those limitations, knowing what the good parts of it are, we spend a lot of time talking about that and then going over examples and strategies for the officer to use it as effectively as they can.
It was very cool. The first time I used body cameras was here in Blaine. It helps your case. It helps protect myself, protect the department. The evidentiary value it has is huge. If a situation were to arise and we make an arrest, for that evidentiary value to become evidence in a jury trial, and for everyone to see what we see is huge, and it's huge tool we have, and I'm glad we have it.
So really like them for the fact that everything is recorded. Some other things that you take a kind of a long statement, you want to go back and help write your report, you can literally pull quotes off the person that they had said instead of trying to remember and paraphrase kind of what they said. Other part of a training opportunity, if you do something incorrectly or maybe something that's unsafe for officer safety wise, is to go back on the video, be able to watch it and say, hey, I don't like how close I was standing to that person, or I didn't like my approach up to the house or a vehicle. Stuff like that helps as well, going back to learn from.
I think transparency is huge. There's been, over the last several decades, that there's been more and more of a push of government transparency. And that is, I think there's been particular emphasis placed on law enforcement, because law enforcement is the most visible and most potentially intrusive part of the government. And so anything that we can do to make sure that we're being as transparent as we can, but also protecting the reasonable rights and privacy of people, we need to try and do that as much as possible. And the cameras definitely help with that. The most significant advantage of the camera overall is that people that do not experience these things and would not ever experience these things can get some insight into what police officers have to do.